what is a re-entry permit and how it differs from permanent residency status? This is the point of discussion, and during your course of research, you might have come across these two terms. So let's have a look on this. So when your permanent residency status is approved in Singapore, you actually get two things. After the approval, you will get permanent resident status, which is obvious and logical. And in addition to that, you will also get a re-entry permit, which is for 5 years. So re-entry permit is issued for 5 years and it is always renewable for another 5 years each time. What that means is PR status is your authorization to stay in Singapore. And re-entry permit allows you to travel out of country and re-enter again lawfully while maintaining the PR status while you are abroad. So if I just bring back those two blocks, the first part, what we see here, permanent resident status, is an authorization, whereas this orange part is actually a visa. And what that legally means is if you get a PR in Singapore, but never travel out of Singapore for rest of your life, then you can stay in Singapore forever without renewing anything, because permanent residency status is permanent. And because you don't go out of Singapore, your PR status will never lapse. This is the legal meaning of this arrangement or this mechanism. However, the problem is, as you know, Singapore is very small. So at some point of time, maybe for holidays or meeting your relatives in your home country, you will be stepping out of the country. So if you get a PR and travel out of Singapore, then you must have a valid REP, re-entry permit, to enter again into the country. If your REP expires, then you will lose your PR status and you will not be able to enter into Singapore as a permanent resident again. Now this concept applies not only to Singapore, it also applies to United States, it also applies to Canada, and it also applies to Australian PR. In all these countries, when the PR or green card is issued, there is a concept of re-entry permit. Now, because of this re-entry permit, you need to be a bit careful, because you have to ensure that every 5 years you are renewing your re-entry permit to keep your PR valid in case you go out of the country. So what do you need to do for PR renewal, or actually it is REP renewal? So re-entry permit renewal is online application. You have to file it using your SingPass. Every 5 years you have to do this. There are no documents needed. You only log in and generally you pay whatever required fee is. And then you will get a mail from the ICS system that your re-entry permit is renewed. But one key thing to note is, before you apply for the re-entry permit renewal, you must be staying in Singapore and economically active for last 2 years. If you are not, then ICA may not approve your REP application for 5 years. Instead, they might allow you it only for 1 year or 2 years. So this is what I have seen in many of the cases. So this is one of the drawbacks. I mean, you are on PR, but you have to be economically active. And if you are not, then the duration of REP is going to be less. So in summary, PR and REP have separate purposes. You must be economically active and staying in Singapore to renew your re-entry permit.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel today. PR Application is a leading immigration consultancy company in Singapore.